In this tutorial, we will be discussing how to use significant figures in calculations. Okay, so you've probably learned way back when you're in elementary school how to round off numbers, but just as a review, if it's 4 or less, you drop the number. If it's 5 or more, you increase that number by 1. So when we're looking at this, if we have this number 8.4234, and let's say we want 3 significant figures there, that's when you have to start rounding. So you take the first 3 numbers that are written there, 8.42, those are going to be your base. Then you look at the next number is a 3, so that means you're going to drop off that 3 and 4. Let's look at the next number, 14.780. Let's use the 2 significant figures. Let's try to convert that to that. So because we're looking for 2, we take the first 2, which is the 1 and the 4, but then that 7 rounds that 4 up to a 5, so that makes it 15. The next one can be a little bit more confusing. 3256. If we want to round it to 3 significant numbers, we take the first 3. That becomes 325. But that 6 rounds it up to be 326. But 326 is not a rounding up of 3,256. We add another 0 there to make that number bigger. So 3,256 is rounded up to 3,260. I hope that you see the difference in those. That 0 at the end here, there's no decimal point, so that 0 doesn't count, so you still have 3 significant figures here. So let's do a little practice on our own. 3.1457. 3 significant figures, that would be 3.1, that 5 rounds it up to 3.15. And then we have grams. 2 significant figures would just be 3.1, because the next number is a 4, we don't count that, and we still use the unit grams. When we're multiplying and dividing numbers, it's a very simple process. All you have to do is sit back and look at how many significant figures are in each individual number. So 24.66, there are 4 significant figures here. 0.35, there's only 2 here. That 0 in front does not count. So there's only 2 significant figures here. From here, you compare the 2 numbers, 4 and 2. 2 has fewer significant figures. So what you're going to do is you're going to put these into your calculator, and it comes out to be 8.631. We only want 2 significant figures, so we take the first 2 numbers, and that's where we get 8.6. Alright, so let's do another one. We have a multiplication and a division here. First thing you want to do is figure out how many significant figures are in each individual number. Here we have 3, here we have 2, here we have 3. Look at all of them, and you notice that 2 is the smallest amount of significant figures. So go ahead and put this in the calculator. 21.5 times 0.30 divided by 1.88. That gives you this really long number here. Remember, 2 is our fewest significant figures. Therefore, we're only going to take the first 2. So it's going to come out to be 3.4 centimeters. Now, and one question you might be asking about is, how do you know what units to do with this kind of situation? Well, you have centimeters and centimeters here. Those cancel. We're left over with centimeters, and that's how I know I have 1 centimeter left. You cancel out units like you would cancel out numbers in division. Let's try another one. Here we're dividing, but now we have zeros involved. So we have 2 significant figures on top and 3 on the bottom. That means we're going to have 2 significant figures when we're done. However, if you put this into the calculator, it just simply comes up 3. Alright, but you know you need to have 2 significant figures here. You add another significant figure by adding 0.0 there. That 3.00 will give you the correct answer and the correct number of significant figures involved. Grams over grams, these divide out. So there's no units on this one. Let's try another one. So we have 3 significant figures here. We have 4 here. We have 2 here. Just a refresher. These zeros do not count, or those zeros do count, those zeros do count because of the decimal. This 0 does count because of the decimal. So here we have a total of 2 significant figures would be the one we're going to go for, because that's the one with the least. So here's what we get when we put it into our calculator. We need 2 significant figures, so that brings us 8.5 centimeters. Adding and subtracting is a little bit different. It's actually, I think, a little bit more difficult, because you have to go back in your mind about what you did when you were in elementary school when you first learned how to do adding and subtracting. You have to line up the numbers at the decimal point. Then you have to figure out which number ends first. For instance, the significant figures here end at that 2. That's the thousands place. This one here ends at the 9, which is the hundreds place. This one here ends at the tenths place, that 0. What I typically do is I draw a line where the numbers end first, and that will tell me where to cut the number off. So here's what I actually get in the calculator, 66.102. If I draw a line at the tenths place, because the tenths place is the place that ends first, that's where we're going to round it off to. So the answer would be 66.1. Honestly, you'll probably be using the multiplication and division far more frequently in chemistry, but there are 2 separate sets, and you need to know that there's a difference. All right, so if we look at this one, draw a line after the number that ends first, and you'll notice that's the tenths place. So we're going to end it there. So that's what you actually get in the calculator when you subtract it out. Once again, you draw the line. That 9 rounds the 10 up to be 62.1. And there you go, 62.1 because of where it's ended up. All right, so let's try this again. Draw the line after the 0 because that ends first. And that gives you 104.4 as the final answer. And that's how you use significant figures in calculations.